Bird, 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 bird. Yeah! Ron Babe was right. Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Oh my God, where do I begin? All right, took off Thursday after work, got down to Southern Ohio, Red Roof in with Taffy and Bravo. I'm down here at the Tar Heels chapter in North Carolina. Couldn't practice last night because it was a rainstorm when I got here. And I had to kind of go around behind the whole field today. Wherever the field was, I had to be somewhere else. If they were in the water, I had to be somewhere else. So Bravo and I are doing our best in practice to pass the utility preparatory test, better known as the UPT test, okay? The reason we're doing this test, even though he's passed the higher level test back in the day, is one of the requirements of being a NAVDA judge is to run a dog so many years you can't go too many years without doing it. Not going to go into too many details about it, but my grace year was up. Now, I either had to get a puppy ready and do an NA test, which I didn't have a puppy. All my dogs are older than puppy age. And I did squeak in the ability, or at least the reservation, to do a UPT test, which I was coming down here to judge anyway. I committed to this chapter 3 months ago, then to find out, oh, guess what? My grace period was up. Anyway, I want you all to wish me the best of luck. Now, when you hear this, you won't know the test results. Next week's episode that I release on Sunday, you will hear the dirty, skinny truth of the whole test, how it went for me. And I can tell you right now, I've got some issues. You think you have a hunting dog, which you do. Take it out of the truck, go into grouse woods, go to Montana, go to South Dakota, North Dakota, wherever you go, that dog's hunting for you. He's having fun. I'm going to tell you something. Dogs do not like being tested. And somebody's out there going to say, oh, no, my dog loves it. No, they don't love it. We love it. And I don't even love it, but I like it. But I had zero time to prepare for this, and I just wanted to be able to, to fulfill the rest of my judging positions that, chapters around the country asked me to come out and do. And the last thing I want to do is call all the rest of them, like I had to call the Tar Heels chapter, and tell them, guess what? I'm technically off the judging roles until I pass the dog in utility or utility prep. So that's what we're shooting for. Now, I'm not even going to tell you how it went today. I will tell you how it went today a little bit. Duck search, I think he could do it. We went down there by ourselves after they left the water. Bravo goes back to the grounds with me. They're reading the scores. I guess, hey, you know what? I know he's going to be able to do this. I mean, it's just a duck thrown in the water for what's called retrieve a duck. It doesn't have to be that steady to pass. I don't have to walk away and do 2 shots and leave him there. All I need him to do is look in the sky, see the duck fall, shoot the blank gun. He looked at me like, I don't know what the word was, but he did not go. Although he did manage to go down to bank and find about a 3-month-old chucker that was full of green mold, and I had to grab a handful of grass to get it out of his mouth and walk it away 100 yards and put it away. But that's not why he didn't go in the water. He just didn't feel like he swam in the duck search water an hour before that. He was just giving me like, I don't like doing this. You didn't take me hunting. You told me you were taking me hunting. You didn't take me hunting. So guess what? Next week you'll hear the scores. Okay? You might see something on Facebook, maybe. You might see something on Instagram. But for my loyal listeners, you will get the play-by-play next week of Bravo's utility prep test. Okay? Now on to my God. If I didn't kill up enough minutes there. You know the order in which I normally thank all my sponsors. Well, we have a new sponsor this year. It's just starting in March here. It's called Pike Gear. Okay, Pike Gear is going to be technical upland clothing. And my friend Brent, whose last name happens to be Pike, not spelled the way the company is. Coincidence? Maybe not. Truth be told, he tried several different names, and trademarks on clothing were ridiculous. Anyway, Brent came up and with the name Pike Gear, Pyke. He was at Pheasant Fest this year, got himself a booth. His website is getting developed. So you might think like, well, God, Ron, why are you talking about it? Well, because they're my title sponsor now. They're spending more money. Well, they're still not spending more money than Patreon, but Patreon's a lot of people. Brent and Pike Gear are the title sponsors of this show. You can look them up. You can Google it, Pyke, and there's going to be a lot of neat stuff. It's going to be the clothing that we, as upland hunters, yeah, there's a few brands. You know, there's some of that stuff that's like, you know, feels like cardboard when you wear it, and it takes 3 years to break in. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for like all weather, properly made, properly sized. It's, you know what? I can't go any longer on it. Check out Pike Gear. You can look it up. You can't buy it yet. There's some of it made. If you were at Pheasant Fest, you could have seen it. But it's going to be a continuing. Who says continuing? Nobody but me. Pike Gear is going to continue to create more clothing, technical clothing for the upland hunter. You're not going to be stuck with just one kind of gear. There's going to be warm weather, cold weather, dual weather, wet weather, shirts, pants, and eventually, if everything goes right, might even get some socks, might even get some jackets, game vest. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, and this is going to be upland clothing designed by an upland hunter, and what do you want to say? And critiqued by a lot of other upland hunters. It's all going to be made in the USA. Check it out, Pike Gear. Just keep Googling it until it comes up. You can find it on my website. There'll be a link to it. Oh, I'm sorry, Patreon patrons. I had to get into all that stuff with Pike Gear. I love you guys. I got a whole bunch of Patreon patrons this week. I was just tickled to see that. And you guys are going to keep bringing this show. Like I've always told you, every time I thank you, I'm almost embarrassed to thank you anymore. You guys are the listeners that really believe in this show, want to get a little more connected, want to get a gunner kennel discount. That's a big one. And a lot of Patreon patrons have done that. So thank you for everybody who has joined up. If you don't know what I'm talking about because you just heard about the podcast, go to the website, Hunting Dog Podcast website. Go all the way down to the bottom of the page. There's a donate button. It links you up to Patreon. It's a way you can give, like most people give $5 a month. It's okay. Let's see, 30 days in a month. Well, 30 days has September. You know what I'm saying. 30 days in a month, $5 a month. Okay, so there's 4 episodes a month. It's like $1.25 an episode. And I can't thank you enough for doing that. I also can't thank Pierre enough. Pierre has been feeding my dogs for 25 years, and they're going to continue to feed my dogs. In fact, I'm at a NAVDA test this weekend, as I just told you, and they're giving out free bags of dog food. That's what happens when you join NAVDA. Quick NAVDA plug. Gunner Kennels, brought my Gunner Kennel down here. You know what's funny? I did not see one other Gunner Kennel in this parking lot. There was a lot of trucks here today. And a lot of people coming over and go, oh, that's what they look like. I want to equate that to, I'm in North Carolina. These houses down here, you know, they're not even insulated, okay? Because they just don't get winter. They just don't get everything we get up north. So the dog boxes I see down here are kind of like the houses I see down here. Yeah, they're okay. Keeps the rain off your head. But is it really what you want? No, of course not. Of course it's not. You know what else I saw? I saw a nice Beretta shotgun this weekend. In fact, I had 2 people show me their Beretta shotgun. One of them, Mike. Hey, Mike. Shout out to Mike. Beautiful. He's got a BL4 just like mine. He's got it in 12 gauge, and I swear to God, it can't be 3 ounces heavier than my 20 gauge BL4. So if you're not ready for a 690 and you already got your waterfowl, your A400, I'm telling you, go online, Google them, look them up. Find yourself an old BL4. It's a bragging gun. Mountain ops. I've been sucking down the Ignite here all the way down from Chicago, all the way down from Michigan, slept in Ohio. I've had 2 mountain ops a day all week, and it's not helping my voice any, but I don't think anything on the label is supposed to, mountain ops is supposed to help your voice. I left my aux at home, probably a good idea, and I ordered my diffuse. That'll be coming. I'll need that in a couple weeks when I get to my jiu-jitsu tournament. Look up mountain ops. Go on the website. All these things are on the website. You can look up. You can find out more about them. Onyx Hunt. Onyx Hunt is the tool that I told you before. Every upland hunter is going to need. It's kind of like backcountry hunters and anglers. You think of it as, oh yeah, that's all the people out west worrying about roads getting closed off and public lands getting sold off. No, it's about everybody. And Onyx Hunt mapping systems are for everybody. I don't care if you live here in North Carolina, Michigan, where I live, or where I hunt all over the country. You get yourself, go online, you can do a test with it. You can do like a free test, like a 1-state free test. And if you really like it, which I know you will, because you're hunters, and I'm not reading this off script. I'm just, it's late at night. I just got back from the first day. 20% off with the promo code HDP. When you want to get their elite system, you get all the states in the country, all the different, it got more layers than a birthday cake. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Oh my God, we're getting along with gum leaf boots. You know what? I told you about the discounts last week. I didn't write them down on this sheet. 844 gum leaf is the number. Just saw 2 people down here in North Carolina. They're all walking around with these suck boots on. And LaCroix, I think it's the other brand of boots. And the one guy told me, he says, I really got to look up. I was at the annual meeting. I didn't sit down with the booth. Jack was there with his son, Zach. I didn't do it, but I kept looking at them. They were kind of like peeping Toms. They kept saying, oh, no, I can't. And then he's down here at this test. He's helping out. And I said, well, you know what? You're not going to have to buy a pair of them every 2 years like you do now. He goes, these are still pretty waterproof, but I feel like I got ankle weights on. I'm like, that's another good point. Get a pair of gum leaf boots, the best rubber boot you can get in this country. Guaranteed. Orion Coolers, 20% off, promo code HDP60. I saw one today in one of the other judges' trucks. Yes, this is working. 20% off Orion Coolers. Backridge Ammunition, guess what? Adam's coming down here tomorrow. He's probably going to get here in time to hear the scores read. And it may or may not go good for me. Again, you'll find out next week. But anyway, Adam from Backridge is coming down here. He's bringing a whole bunch of test stuff for me to shoot. And then Monday and Tuesday, Matt Giorio, my webmaster, and the best underpaid volunteer employee a person could ever have. Matt's coming down here with Tubbs. You remember me talking about him up in October in the Adirondacks? So Matt and Tubbs are coming down here. And Adam and, God, what's his dog's name? He's got a funny name, too. He's got a Springer. And we're gonna go play with Taffy and Tubbs. If Bravo does any good on Sunday, I'll let him go find some birds. And if not, he can stay in the truck. I don't care. And last but not least, and then I promise I will shut up, Perrin Brewery. You've heard me talk about it. You've heard me allude to it. Perrin Brewery, Comstock, Michigan. I know the rest of you people out in the rest of the world are like, why Perrin Brewery, Ron? Well, because Perrin Brewery is a microbrewery that's close to my home. They love the podcast. A lot of the people at Perrin are hunters, okay? Dog people. And we're going to have about 4 events this year coming up. It's going to be exciting. If you're anywhere within driving distance, let's just call it Northwest Grand Rapids. It's Comstock Park, Michigan. Check out Perrin Brewery. We're going to have a bunch of events there. We're going to do live podcasts. We're going to do a cooking demonstration. We're going to do a Justin question and answer there. Oh, that's it. I'm done. I swear. I promise. I'm sorry. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Hey, everybody. It's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I am Where am I at? I'm in Schaumburg, Illinois at the...
830.
You don't want to... Oh, yeah, this won't come out for a week. You'll be out of here. I'm in room 830 with one Stephen Rinella and one Bob St. Pierre from Pheasants Forever. We're going to do a little podcast here. I'm going to call it my anniversary podcast. A lot of people ask me why I started, and I started because I was doing a show with Steve in... where were we? What part of Texas?
We were outside. We were in the Texas Panhandle.
And we were hunting sandhill cranes.
You know.
And Steve...
We were in Ransom Canyon.
That's it. Ransom Canyon. That was
Texas.
beautiful there. So we were down there, and Steve mentioned to me something, or at least the way I remember it. Ron, try to stay a little more sober because we're going to do a podcast. And I didn't even know you were starting a podcast. And as soon as we hung up the headphones on the table, it was so much fun to record a voice or record a hunting story. I remember saying to you, I don't know if you remember, I said, you know, I'm not trying to be a copycat, but I'm going to go home and do a podcast. And I think we released the same January 1st or whatever, 4 years, 2 months ago or something like that.
There's a band, I can't remember if it was The Replacements.
Lean forward.
I can't remember if it was the band The Replacements, but there's like a line that they only sold 100 albums. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, the replacements are from Twin Cities, yeah.
They
Paul
only sold 100
Westerberg.
albums, but everybody that bought one started a band.
Really?
Soul Asylum came after that. Another Twin
I think
Cities.
it was.
punk.
I think that line is about The Replacements.
Huh.
Maybe.
So Joe Rogan told Steve that, or kind of talked you into doing it, or
Yeah,
Is that
that
somewhat
was my exposure. That was my exposure to it.
right?
I had never heard the word podcast until I went in, like, till
And
someone
Joe's.
told me about.
Right.
But, you know, it was like in the infants. I mean, there's kind of a mixed story about the infancy of podcasts, but comedians really kind of
Started it.
built it up and made it. It was just like
Ari
comedians.
Shaffir.
Yeah, comedians started kind of recording their bullshit sessions and
Right.
working on material and
It'd be
so
like
there's
early YouTube releasing of things.
yeah, it's like
Kind of.
early adoption in the comedy world.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Joe went on to have such a kind of magical show. You know, he's like a very gifted conversationalist.
And not one guest of his ever doesn't hear the words, "You should do a podcast." I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't know how many he spurred, you know. So anyway, that's how Steve kind of got the nudge. I did it with Steve, so I got the nudge. I want to ask Bob. I already got the Upland podcast out there on dogs. Why did you guys at Pheasants Forever start a damn podcast?
I know.
I'm like, but they don't like me.
Yeah, well, you have a great podcast. You both do, but I'm the barrier for our organization. Andrew Vavra in our office has been pushing us to do a podcast for like 6 years.
You're kidding.
And honest to God, and
He didn't listen to mine?
well, for the last 12 years, I've been the co-host of a radio show in the Twin Cities.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
So I get up at 4 a.m. every Saturday morning. I'm like, guys, we're not going to do a podcast. I get up 4 a.m. every Saturday morning. You want to listen to Pheasants Forever?
Yeah.
Just dial the radio up.
It's already out there.
It's out there. You can podcast it on KFan.
Yeah.
So, but over time, you know, I saw the power of, you know, the audience that you guys have nurtured, and we finally, as a group, Anthony and Andrew and I, okay, we need to have one for Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever exclusively, and we started it this fall. You know, as
Yeah.
you see this like mid-August, you know.
I listened to the whole Rooster Road trip.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm going there in a little while, and I want to hear if they're going to give me any little tidbits of information. And I still made the wrong decision.
Well-
I went down to Tyndall. So,
The magic for us is that, you know, people do take those Rooster Road trips of their own, and this becomes kind of the soundtrack for their trip as they're heading west
Yeah.
to chase roosters, or south to chase quail, or up north to hunt rough grouse.
Steve, do you listen to other podcasts?
Not about stuff that I'm into.
You just like listen to
Generally, I mean, I'll listen to shows from guys. I'll listen to stuff from guys I work with, but no, I typically like don't because I'm. It's a handful of reasons. It's hard.
Well, the same reason you don't watch other television shows about hunting.
Like, I'm careful. I kind of try to be careful about what gets into my head a little bit, and I sort of have a way that I like to find out about things and the influences I like to have, and so I'm a little bit strategic about the media.
So you
I
would
take
actually,
in.
if somebody said, hey, you got to listen to this new deer hunting podcast, you might go like, nah, I don't need to.
I'd be afraid of stealing their ideas.
You just want. That's it.
No, I mean, I just take it. I mean, I don't go. I don't listen to every episode of any show.
Right. But you listen.
I cruise around and watch the landscape, but I don't listen to everything. I don't listen to everything of everything.
That makes good sense. I co-host the show, and the guy I host with, Billy Hildebrand, you know, there's a respect there that I don't want to steal his line of questioning or guests that he brought, even if they're incredibly relevant to Pheasants Forever, because there's that, you know, that autonomy of, you know, your own creative ideas that you don't want to step on.
Yeah, it's a very crowded space. You wouldn't be able to go listen to all the.
Oh, it's changed, and
you wouldn't be able to listen to it all.
There was a gazillion of them when you started and I started, and there's like 2 gazillion of them now.
Mm-hmm. It's like microbrews.
Yeah, I went. A guy came up to the booth today, and he's like, "So what?" I was hearing this, and I walked by. What's this podcast thing? I said, "You got a smartphone?" I said, "Here, you do this. You show an app." I said, "What do you do for a living?" He says, "I sell light bulbs." I typed in light bulbs, and 10 podcasts come up with light bulbs in the title.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it wasn't about selling light bulbs,
right.
But I was like, I said, if you're like looking for like retired wrestlers from WWE, there'll be 5 podcasts about that. You know.
Because I think with so many kinds of traditional media, there's a barrier to entry. There's a vetting system and there's market influences. But you get into something like this, there's zero barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Like almost
me.
literally zero barrier.
A little bit of money to buy the equipment and learn.
It's kind of like it's kind of like you had a question last night. I don't think we ever covered. Like when people say they can't afford to go hunting, I can't afford to go hunting. Like, there's really almost a zero barrier to go hunting.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
What?
It's ridiculous when people say that. I hear that all the time from people.
What I'm saying is, podcasting, you can tie it into, if you want to go hunting, there's pretty much a zero barrier to go hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, when you started hunting in Twin Lake, your dad wasn't taking you out first. You were probably following your brothers with a...
Oh, no, he took us out before I can ever even remember.
So you just had... But I mean, like, when you and Danny and Matt would go...
Oh yeah, we do that. I mean, we'd ride our bikes off and go, but I mean, we also like very much introduced to it by our dad. But yeah, it wasn't, you know, you had like a rod that the old man bought you at a flea market.
Right.
You had like a fishing rod. Then eventually you'd get someone would get a new gun, and then everybody'd get that person's gun.
It was like passing down dress shirts.
So my 22 had been like Matt's 22. Then it was my brother. Okay.
So you always got the last gun.
There was a summer camp by our house.
Which one?
I don't know. Oh, it was boys. Like
Blue Lake or Wasapee?
No, it wasn't Blue Lake. It was that. There used to be a summer camp on West Lake.
Oh, really? In Twin Lake?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
West Lake had a summer camp.
Oh, shit.
It's all just it's all gone now.
Yeah.
This used to be woods. We'd hunt that thing in the wintertime. They had a 22 range and a shooting course, and they canceled the shooting course. My old man went down and bought him and his buddies somehow bought a handful of the 22s.
Mm-hmm.
That they had.
Were they pumps or were they?
No, they were these Remington like 581s or something. Even the lefty was in there.
They had a lefty in there?
Because I still have the some. No, yeah, I think I still have that thing.
Really?
And I still have a right hand from then too. No, I got the left hand later. That's not true.
Okay.
They were right-handed. I'm left-handed, but they were right-handed. But anyways, so we had them used from a summer camp, whatever the hell he bought them for. It wasn't a lot of money. And then those would like march their way through. No one spent any money on this stuff.
Right.
It was unheard of. My first deer rifle, Eugene Groders gave it to me.
Right.
Because he had a gun for every year he'd been alive. He kept them in the roof of his cabin. So he's in his 80s and had 80-some. And apparently he got to counting and realized he was heavy on a couple. And gave me one. And that was like what
that
I started.
Was your first deer rifle.
This was a Model 94 32 Special.
And that's the one you...
Yeah, people don't spend shit. But now you're like, oh, you guys, you need to... You know what it is? People see people hunt with nice stuff, and they think you got to have nice stuff.
Right.
But if you see people on vacation with nice stuff, you don't think you're not going to go on vacation because you don't have nice stuff.
Right. The same thing when you get your first car.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can't drive. I just saw a guy with a nice car.
Yeah, my friend's dad bought him a new car. I can't use my dad's '69 Buick. Well, then I'm not going to have any wheels.
Yeah, because I saw someone with a nice car, therefore I can't drive my old car.
What did you have for a first gun, Bob?
I thought you were going to ask for first car. I had a Ford Tempo that wouldn't go backwards.
That's really handy.
Yeah.
Depends on where you live. I guess if you got a circle drive, it's not too bad.
Well, I did. Growing up in the UP at a circle drive, and you don't have to parallel park much, so I would always do the pull through.
Yeah.
My first gun was an Ithaca pump shotgun.
Pump shotgun?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you don't even really remember your first gun, do you?
Yeah. Well, what first? What I mean, I know
The one that Eugene gave you.
that was
Like,
my.
would you call that Steve's gun? Your brothers wouldn't say. It's
Oh no,
ours?
it was mine.
That was your
Eugene
gun.
gave it to me.
Yeah.
It had a peep sight on it, and had a little reducer on it, and then I had a Stevens break open 12, which is my first shotgun.
That you bought.
No, just it was Danny's. Then it became.
That was another hand-me-down shoe.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ever have. I didn't buy a new gun until I was in my. I didn't buy a new gun until I was well in my 30s. Never had a left-handed gun. Never had a left-handed gun until I was in my 30s.
You didn't have a left-handed gun until we went down to South Carolina
No, I had one before that.
and you got rid of it.
No.
Oh, no, you did.
Yeah.
The Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have a. I just shot. And even when I had one, it was hard to get used to.
Yeah. I had my dad. We went trap shooting when we were in high school, but there was no Scholastic. I was just talking to some guys from this. You ever heard about that? The Scholastic trap shooting?
Oh, yeah.
It's getting super big. I mean, like huge. And the Gormans took me trap shooting on Sunday mornings, and I didn't have to go to church with my mom and dad. That was like the first kind of breakaway. And then he always let me shoot this Remington 1100 TB trap, 30-inch barrel, Monte Carlo stock. It weighed about 8.5 pounds. That was my first hunting gun for 10 years, 10, 15 years. I always lusted after another shotgun. Like, no, I'm going to carry this damn fence post. Really good on trap shooting because it's so heavy. And, so to go into...
You remember that place, 500 Guns?
Oh, yeah, Barnes.
I remember scraping together $100 and going down and getting one of those Trapper. You know those things that you had a 22 LR on top and a 20 gauge down below?
Wasn't it made by Savage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Model 24C. I can't remember what the hell
Yeah.
the models are. Bought that, but that was a used purchase. And man, I used the shit out of that thing. Horribly inaccurate for, any kind of thing. But I use it for trapping.
It's fine enough for a shotgun, but it's...
Yeah, it was my trap line gun.
Yeah.
But even then I bought that used. Yeah, it's funny the way... It's
like
funny.
new
People
cars.
are so weird about money, man.
New cars don't come... It was no... You were never, looked down upon. Like, if you didn't have a new something when we were growing up, and I'm 15 years older than you, but the one similarity, I think, is the fact that your dad and my dad were World War II vets.
Yeah.
So it's rare. Like, the friends I grew up with in Chicago, their dads were Korean War vets. And then I meet you kids, you and your brothers, and your dad's my dad's age.
Same age, yeah.
And it was like you guys, you were just brought up that piece of Depression era mentality.
Yeah, being like raised by your grandpa a little bit.
Yeah, as opposed to dad.
Yeah.
Certainly not your best friend.
No, he wasn't worried about that.
No. Bob, all right. Where'd your bird hunt start? In the UP?
Yeah,
I
I grew up
swatting them off the road. Or
Well,
did you have a dog?
Yeah, the Yooper stereotype precedes me, right?
Well, because I've been there.
The ground pounder. Actually, I did grow up in Escanaba in the UP, chasing rough grouse and woodcock. Mm-hmm. Grew up with a Brittany that sometimes hunted with me. So
Sometimes it wasn't.
Sometimes it was out running birds on its own. So I just loved walking in the woods. I lived outside of town, so I could walk off the porch, and I was grouse hunting. I could go deer hunting, within 100 yards of the back driveway. And
that's not bad.
And it's the story we've all heard before. You go back there now, and while it's not a subdivision,
it's still Escanaba.
It's still Escanaba, but there's property boundaries where I used to just go and explore and chase, whatever had fur or feathers. So even Escanaba, the entire UP has like 200,000 people. Even in a community or a size of geography that big.
Yeah, that's not.
Times are changing still.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna tie it into pheasants, but I know Steve probably didn't hunt pheasants till way late. So
we'd see him around. Only
there was
rarely.
still some over by Zerlots and stuff.
I think I remember. I can't remember if it was my old man or one of his buddies. I remember someone throwing a coat on one and catching it.
You write about it in the book, Scavenger's Guide. Like you started in Montana, though, right?
That's when we first started hunting for real. But I'm saying there were pheasants around Michigan. They'd come and go. Someone would put them in. And,
Yeah.
I used to trap muskrats and raccoons and fox on a farm, and you'd see them along the railroad tracks there. And, you know, now and then they'd be around, but no, it was never that area. Probably still today.
Couple
Just
birds.
here and there, you know.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I remember being real little. Can't remember how it came. He shouldn't have done it. It was illegal. But I remember my brother somehow or another shot one with a 22 of pheasant when we were little kids. We probably didn't even know if that was the age we probably didn't know if there was a season or not. But he somehow stumbled into a pheasant. I remember he shot it with a 22. But no, wasn't a lot of pheasants around.
So I'm
in Michigan.
No, I mean there was way over by the Thumb and stuff. Because when I first moved there, I'd go over by Hastings and we could get a bird.
Yep.
You're not gonna get a bunch of birds, but you could find a bird.
Later we got some. Later after I'd already moved away out west, we'd come back and we'd go up and mess around up in up around Big Rapids. What county's up there? Mecosta County.
Yeah,
we trapped beaver and muskrat up there. And we had a couple pheasant spots up there.
I remember that place. It was on the corner of a road. You showed me a place.
Yeah.
Because who was going to school up there?
Matt went up there.
Yeah.
So I'd go up there in December and we trap through the ice for muskrats and beaver and hunt cottontails. And yeah, he had a couple spots where you might see one, but
Right.
no, I didn't do any serious pheasant hunting until I moved out west.
But if you do, Pheasants Forever is doing a ton of work in Michigan. There's a program called the Michigan Pheasant Restoration Initiative with the DNR, and
Yeah.
it builds on top of CRP. There's a program called CREP that's based around water quality. So in the Thumb area, there's a lot of work going on, and then over southern part of Lake Michigan on the western side of the state, there's a lot of work going on. But
Yeah.
growing up in the UP, there was rough grouse to hunt, and I didn't actually.
Oh yeah, there's no place for them, but in southern Michigan, it looks like good country. You
right,
know?
for sure. Yeah,
But no, we had grouse and woodcock around us.
Do you remember the first bird you ever took off a wing? Like on the wing, like...
No,
No.
I've been little, sure.
How about you, Bob?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because grouse are tough, period.
Yeah.
But,
When you score,
I mean,
it's a big deal.
What was your first bird?
there was a old railroad grade that was our driveway. They pulled off the railroad tracks and they made it a snowmobile trail. But then you pull off.
That's how you got to your house.
But I could walk that railroad grade for miles and miles and miles. So I remember clear as day one grouse came out and banked over that railroad grade.
So gave you a
It was after school. I'd get home from school, and it was funny. Like in September, we had this little creek by our house called the Portage Creek, and Chinook salmon would come up there in the fall. My brother would and I would chase those, and then grouse season would start.
Does chase mean snag?
There was a little bit of you go to the corner and I'll make a blockade, and we made our own spears and yeah. But so the grouse was down on that grade.
Yeah.
That was a lot of.
So you might have been just too young to remember. Mine was in.
We shot a lot of ducks probably before we shot anything else.
So you'd have shot a duck on the wing probably before you shot a grouse
definitely.
on the wing.
At least by 12. Maybe my dad. He would usually let us hunt before we were supposed to.
Right.
For most things. So, but you could hunt ducks at 12. And I'm sure I shot a grouse around then because we'd spend time out looking for them.
Right.
Yeah. It happened early enough where I definitely don't have any recollection of it.
Right. You couldn't put a year to it even.
No.
I remember my first pheasant too was with 3 Yoopers in northern Iowa. That a couple of kids from the UP ended up getting jobs in northern Iowa, and I came down from the Twin Cities, and so we're out walking around, and you can imagine 3 guys from the UP never been pheasant hunting before, and that was a completely different experience. And you see this, great big bird that's
You
got
got to
this.
get out of the car and truck first.
Yeah,
It's
badass.
It's not obscured by brush.
Well, yeah, and they're cackling at you. They got the badass attitude. They're just, you hold one in your hand, and you're like, they're just gorgeous, right? And they're big as life.
That's what I picked as my animal to come back at last night at the podcast. I'm going to come back as a pheasant. And right away, Steve goes, "Oh, so you only want to live a year and a half?" Yeah, my first pheasant was in Illinois. Wild. I mean, I'm talking like a wild pheasant, like real. And I walked out this guy's door. We were going to go hunting, and he couldn't go. His girlfriend was saying something. His little brother said, "Well, I'll go. We're going to go walk these railroad tracks." It was long railroad tracks. And this bird got up. It must have been pursuit a little bit. We were like near a neighborhood, but we were still way out of Chicago. And I pulled that gun up, and that thing fell, and it was like, I'm gonna be a wing shooter.
Yeah.
It's like and of course I never had any big game hunting stuff, so I think that's kind of why I've just always leaned toward feathers.
What changes it for me, like I can remember the firsts, but now when I put my own dogs into the equation, like each one means so much more than the ones that I got.
See, I lose a whole lot of clarity after, like I can't remember much more first than that though.
Yeah, but you can remember certain sequences with your dogs in certain places though, right?
Well, I remember retrieves more than anything else. Like you could remember your dog, Steve. Mm-hmm. What was her name? Duchess.
Duchess. Yeah, some woman.
Like you could.
We'd always find dogs and they'd just show up, whatever. However people get dogs. My dad would get rid of them.
You certainly didn't pay for them.
No, they just come into your life and go out of your life. Get hit by cars, whatever, all the things that happen to dogs. And then this Coast Guard, someone ran an ad. There was a woman in the Coast Guard, was stationed there near us on Lake Michigan, and she was getting transferred and had just gone and bought a white Labrador, and it was still a puppy. And then got like some kind of transfer notice, and she's going overseas, or I can't remember what it was, going someplace where it was like untenable to bring the dog. And she was giving it away, but she came out and was like meeting with people to find a good home for it.
Yeah.
And came out, and we had kids and lived on a lake.
She's almost interviewing almost.
She came out and checked us all out and saw what our story was and gave us the dog.
So would that be considered a rescue or an adoption?
No, she just gave it to us.
No papers.
She might have, I remember it was like a big deal that it was like a kennel. It was like a big deal. It was like a dog from a kennel and shit, And
so it actually had some credentials.
Yeah. My dad sent it up. My dad he signed us up for this thing. We had to go every Saturday all summer long to like training.
I didn't know that. Never heard you say that.
So we had to go. It was like he'd go, but he'd make us go too, and we'd go down to the Saturday thing. All these people would go to a park and practice training their dog, and he made us do that. Like we had it for once. He was like, "We're gonna get a dog and like take it seriously,
right?
And not just some crazy dog that shows up." I mean, like we had a beagle dog one time, and it was just he just found it walking down the road.
And you were on the way to go hunting.
Yeah, he's like, "Here's a beagle going down the road." It seemed like it. Yeah, I remember he just called it up. We called that dog Bobo. Called it up in the car.
There's a little kid at home just bawling.
Like, he just was real
Yeah,
weird.
some kid at home putting posters on the phone poles.
Thinking about it now, it's so funny, man. It's like, kind of like how it went, I think he just was like, "Oh, that dog must not have a home." Like, based on what?
Based on the fact that he slipped his collar by backing up and he doesn't have a home currently.
We had this dog. Oh my God, we just had dogs. I don't know how they'd come into our lives. They just would show up. You'd bring them off and give them to people, or quote, give them to people. I don't know. He was
a lot of those just disappeared back in the day.
Yeah, but he had always had a beagle dog that he liked a lot, and was always chasing after another dog that he liked a lot. Then really liked that dog, and we kept that dog. That was our dog, and that was the only dog we had for 13 years.
Duchess.
Yeah, hunted the piss out of that dog.
Yeah.
Everything.
And it was the right time for you guys at your age then.
Yep.
You were already starting to do stuff.
And we liked hunting grouse with it too, because it would just stay nice and close. I don't like dogs that spook stuff way out of range.
Yeah.
It would just stay nice and close and just kick up birds that you could shoot. So it was real helpful. It wasn't like, dog runs off and while you hear a bird bust and you're like, "Oh, that's great."
Never happened.
No, she would not go far, man. She would stay like just right by you, She didn't like to go wandering off, so she was cool. I remember she got shot by a pellet one time rabbit hunting. One of my buddies, no one fessed up to it. But no, it was a cool dog. And then she got run over. You remember that?
I think so.
All crippled up, and yeah, broke her leg, broke her like pelvis.
Yeah.
Thought she was gonna die. She wound up recuperating.
But she was gimped up after that.
Yeah, we were up working on trying to put a chain back on someone's moped in this blue van. I can tell you whose van it was. Comes screaming up the road, and wham, hits that dog, and oh my God, it was heart wrenching.
Yeah.
But she got better and then lived for years after that. But that was kind of in the end, wound up kind of being the death of her a little bit, because her hip, the injuries never really.
Right.
And like she would, whenever she got cold out duck hunting, her back leg would stop working. The one that got real banged up.
Yeah.
So it was like arthritic or something. And she'd kind of drag it around.
Take her out to the river bottoms?
All the time. we do all kinds of stuff with that dog. She's great, man.
What's really weird is I was probably, when I first moved to Twin Lake, I was probably out in the river bottoms, and you guys were out in the river bottoms, and I didn't know you and your brothers.
Yeah, we'd go out there with a guy named Al Cole.
Alcoholic?
Alcoholic, yep. Yeah, we'd hunt it every year. We'd go down and put those glow-in-the-dark thumbtacks in the trees and stuff, dragging boats when the water was high. Yeah, but we always got a lot of ducks down there.
That was a lot. Did you duck hunt up there, Bob, in the UP?
Yeah, I duck hunt on Stonington Peninsula, right on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a ton, but teal and black ducks would even come
Who
through
was
there.
doing the retrieving in the water?
It's really shallow there, so I didn't bring my dog out
that's
there.
handy.
Yeah, it was pretty easy duck hunting.
We sometimes, it depended on the water if we could bring a dog out to that swamp. Sometimes the water was you couldn't get out of the water.
It was just waist deep.
So you wouldn't bring it. But if you
Right.
could get a stump or something,
Right.
you'd bring it out there. I remember when the year I turned 12, sitting out there waiting for it to get light out, and I got a raccoon, like in the dark.
You shot it?
Yeah, I had a fur harvester license. I don't know if you need one for raccoons, but I remember sitting there and hearing something coming through the water. And all of a sudden it was like a raccoon standing there, and I remember getting that when I was 12. I was all fired up about that. It's like better than a duck.
More fire, but you don't even know why.
No.
You weren't like trapping yet or anything.
Oh no, I started trapping when I was
yeah?
10. Yeah, we caught our first raccoon when we were 10. So yeah, I was well into it.
See, that's just not right. Raccoon doesn't trump a duck.
I was excited, man. I was a fur harvester.
Yeah, you wanted to be a mountain man, right? I mean,
Yeah. No, I sold that raccoon.
I remember you came over one time in I think it was your green Chevy. There's still green Chevy trucks of that era still driving around Twin Lake. You'll see old 80s pickup trucks.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
They're still running around all jacked up.
When David Lynch did the, remember David Lynch's Twin Peaks from the late 80s?
Yeah.
He did that new, 25 years later, the new Twin Peaks. There's an old mid-80s Chevy in that.
That's a random connection.
It made you feel like that house last night.
I was like, I recognized. Yeah, because I owned a lot of those, man. I had like a lot of those. 79 up into the early 80s. Yeah, a lot of everybody had because that was like the era. And trucks didn't last that long back then.
Because they were already beat to death.
No, but I mean you couldn't drive. People, they died at a certain age. But
Yeah.
I just happened to come up like.
But did they have reverse?
I feel like I can remember people not having reverse, but I feel like I've always been blessed with reverse.
I've always been blessed. You're the first guy I know that actually had one for a while, Bob, that didn't have reverse and just like, I can get around this.
Only in the UP, right?
They didn't care. I remember, my buddy Roof, he had his mom's Nova, and he had the emergency brake on, and he didn't know he had the emergency brake on. And a car will go in reverse with the old drum emergency brakes better than it'll go forward. Like if you put it in reverse, it kind of lets it back up a little bit. And I remember he drove like 2 miles backwards through Chicago to get back home. And his brother came out, burned up, screwed the brakes up and everything. I don't know, really.
But there was so many. It's weird about cars back then, and maybe now, but there's so many like public safety issues that we didn't really address or think about with cars. Mm-hmm. Like remember Matt Forever had one that defrosted, like he had no air, no forced air, and he would put his thumb on that windshield, melt a little hole, like a quarter, and then drive around his face, basically like his eye out to that hole, and drive to school in the morning like that. Just stuff now that you just feel like it was a little bit perilous, but just not a lot of real public menace vehicles.
I remember you came over, my kids were in the backyard, and you came over, I think it was your green pickup truck, and you had an otter. You had caught an otter. You were all excited. You came over and showed me you had caught an otter. And I'd never seen an otter. And that's when I kind of knew, like, you were, like, on a different page.
That would have been a blue truck. No. Can't remember what color truck.
I guess I only remember the green one, like, in my head.
Yeah.
But it was one of them same box, little kind of jacked up, not jacked up, but aggressive tire, and I'll never forget that you had a burlap bag
with an otter in it.
With an otter, I think a beaver and an otter, and
I remember. I know that was the first otter I ever caught.
And you came over, you're like, look at this, look at that. I was like, I never seen one. And you were like, I just caught one. And that's when I knew, like, this guy's a little different. This guy guy's a little different. Out of all the employees I've had, this guy's a little different. And like everything you did became a degree of, like, if it's the harder it is, it's, to me, it seemed like the more you want to do it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think, like, yeah, with a lot of stuff that goes that way. With trapping, it was like, yeah, because you'd read about, you know, that you're allowed one of something or whatever.
Above a certain highway.
Yeah, or you get where, like, some guy saw something you never saw.
Yeah.
And there's, like, you just get where you're kind of dying to go find.
Like, you know, you could get one otter north of M something.
I don't know what it
and you're
is
like,
now, but
okay,
that's
I'm
how
going to
it
find
used
a
to work.
place
Yeah.
to go find an otter. And I was like,
And then it
how?
was two, yeah, and then in UP you're allowed 2 otters, and it was like you really somehow someone telling you that there's a cap made you really want to achieve that cap.
Right. Like, you always like that.
Is there anything left on your bucket list that's
No,
like
I don't
that?
usually think of stuff that way.
No?
No. I don't think of it like that. Like things I'm dying to go do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to become a better spear fisherman, but no, I don't have like hunts I'm dying to go do. I mean,
Really?
I apply for all kinds of permits.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm looking forward to someday drawing a bighorn tag, but if I never draw one, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have like a thing I'm saving up to go do or something. I kind of more like to do. There's things I like to do, and I like to do them more. Is where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you, I hate asking a cliche question, but I think you said you prefer hunting mule deer.
Yeah, I really like to hunt mule deer
That's
a lot. So that, but you know, this is funny. This year I didn't. Like to hunt mule deer, like to hunt coos deer. So every year I try to do that. And
What about a bird? What's the bird that you enjoy chasing?
capercaillie.
Yeah.
Is that how you say that bird?
Capercaillie.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to go for?
Dude, I want to go so bad.
Where do you got to go? What country is that?
Norway and stuff.
You going to take me with?
I've had guys, because I've talked about it a fair bit. I've had a lot of
my
guys.
question. You going to take me with?
I don't have a trip planned. If I ever go, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted to get on tape before before I ask you who your favorite employee
Yeah,
is.
I've had a lot of guys not a lot. I've had a handful of guys invite me to come out and do it. I was watching a thing one time. It was about this old man. There's this little biopic of this old man in Europe, and he would go out and he had his dog. He had a dog and a 22, and go out and hunt these just giant grouse.
Yeah, the big black
Cool.
grouse.
Yeah. You ever read Newt Hampson's Pan?
No, I've heard that title, but no.
Dude, that's a hell of a book, man. He hunts a lot of grouse. And
Does he?
Yeah, it's a Norwegian writer. Newt. Is it Hampson?
I don't know that name.
It's about dogs. Starts out with him talking about shooting his dog.
Good way to start a book out.
Telling you what, man, there's a lot of things that you think are like American things, but they go on in other places.
Yeah.
What about Harrison? As Michigan guys, are you guys read Jim Harrison a bunch?
Oh, we used to read him all the time. I mean, he was one of those people that really he was one of those people that really later, once we started becoming aware of literature, that really made you, like, in my circle of friends and people I knew that were, you know, became biologists or went into the arts.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a person that made you real proud to be from Michigan.
Yep.
You know, he got out just in time, right? Because I think that the male, like the womanizing stuff and the male fantasy stuff would kind of lose some of its shine today.
Some of it. Yeah, I think you're right.
You know, it's like all these old protagonists, you know.
Brown Dog.
Yeah, these
Brown
old
Dog wouldn't go over
protagonists
well
getting
in
all the young
2015.
ladies, and it's almost like a lot of it's kind of silly now, but like some of his early stuff. But he was a guy that lived to be old. He started writing young.
Yeah.
But yeah, his first that false memoir, Wolf.
Yep.
It's a phenomenal book. Farmer, Brown Dog. I mean, I love all those books. I don't mean to dog on Jim Harrison. I mean, he gave me great blurbs for my stuff and was super inspirational and have, you know, immense respect for him. But it's funny to read. It's funny to read a lot of that stuff now. You just look at it very differently.
Mm-hmm. He was a real dog lover too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, man.
Wing shooter. I was either interviewing or talking to somebody that hunted with him a few times, and I said, well, what was Harrison like? He says, he didn't hunt much. He'd usually get out of the truck, light a cigarette, and say, how far are we going? And then open a bottle of wine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you imagine, like, he had one eye.
Blind in one
like,
eye.
how is he going to be a wing shooter with one eye?
That's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
We always tell people leave both eyes open. He's screwed.
Yeah.
No, I think, you know, I have friends that would fished with him, and yeah, I think at
Did
the
you ever-
time he was.
did you ever
pretty
meet
effective. No, never hung out with him. Never. It's kind of weird too, because I was always.
How about Tom McGuane? He's up in Montana.
We've been emailing lately about
Have
getting
you?
together. Yeah.
He seems like another cool one to.
He's supposed to be like one of the finest wing shooters on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been emailing about getting together, so I'm going to keep pursuing him about that.
Yeah. I heard him on Orvis's podcast.
Mm-hmm. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
And they were fast friends for a long time.
Yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't somebody. It was him being asked about hunting with Harrison.
Yeah.
They said, "Yeah, we didn't." I mean, I think probably when he was younger, he did a lot, but the way he made it sound was like Jim Harrison loved the whole thing, but he could easily just stop and let's get on with the kitchen table talk. You know.
Yeah.
And, Bob, you got any other questions for Steven?
Well,
I mean-
we started talking about podcasts, and
Yeah.
I'm the new guy
Yeah,
on the
that's
block.
true.
So give me some advice. What do we need to
Well-
bring to the table for the bird hunters?
Oh,
Or
good question.
how do you go about, how do you approach podcasts that you'd recommend? Do you
Well,
make an outline or do you wing it?
No, I'm real fussy about it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Steve, Steve's obviously backed by a large, his company and from production company, and you've always had a support team to do a podcast.
No, I do all. No one assists me on content.
No, not on content, but
Oh.
I mean, production, audio quality, sending
Yeah.
the thing up.
Yeah,
you know.
we use a sound studio to mix our stuff.
Right.
Giannis does all.
And you started off with a professional rig. You didn't start off with this in the corner on an ash can upside down.
It would have been better if we had.
You
From
think?
what we started.
Well, I remember the cord snapping on the
it was
table.
horrible.
That was
we
terrible.
struggled with audio quality for a long
Oh.
time. It was a difficult process, man. We eventually got it where it sounds like you're listening to NPR, but no, it was a very difficult process and made a lot of mistakes. Early on with sound quality, but eventually got there.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we still mess with stuff. We still mess around with how to get everything right.
How much research do you do before you?
A lot. I spend hours on it.
Yeah, and outlining where you're going to take the conversation.
You know, I do that, and then if I'm having writers on, read stuff. I spend a lot of time on it. I'm pretty picky about it, about how I envision it going.
Mm-hmm.
And then even like the I kind of imagine there's like different kind. I picture it being like there's like someone would listen and not know this. Would listen and not notice this, but in my head, we do 3 kinds of shows. And one of those kinds of shows, I don't need to do preparation. 2 of those kinds of shows, I need to do preparation. Someone would listen, they'd be like, they probably wouldn't detect that and maybe describe it as falling into 3 columns, but I envision it being in 3 columns. And 2 of those I work on, and 1 of those I do not work on.
And my side of it is I just went full, just bought a Zoom 5H5 and just started talking to people. Because that's where I don't have the writing backgrounds, I don't have the vocabulary, and I just wanted to catch conversations and stories. My real thought was my mom and her sisters and brothers, there was 8 of them, and back when cassette tapes were big, cassette, that would be what you call it. Didn't have a V or an H or a number on it, just cassette tapes. And literally, this was all raised Depression era, poor family. These people were all frugal till the day they died. They would do chain letters back in the day. They would get a letter from their sister, they would read it, they would add another page to it, and they would send it on to the next sister, the next brother, and eventually postage got a little, but it would always work out where, and then that's how phone calls were so expensive, long distance phone calls that, I mean 2 of my uncles could have afforded it, but that was it.
I remember that being a big damn deal, man. Your mom and dad get mad at you about having called someone long distance.
Right. Yeah, I mean you're not that young to where you don't remember that.
No, I remember being in college, man. It was a big deal to call people and
Here's your calling card for the quarter.
getting like crazy ass phone bills and typing in those calling card numbers.
Yes, God.
Oh yeah, man.
So, because my mom's side of the family are such, I don't mean storytellers like would be captivating. They were captivating to me as a kid. So then they started doing this thing when they realized they could talk instead of write.
Yep.
So they would just talk. And I remember my mom sitting in the kitchen saying, and Ronnie came home from school today, and blah, 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 and Pam and Gloria. And she would do a tape, and then she would send it, and somebody would record it, and they started using tapes to tell the stories, to talk to each other. And I still got a couple of them. My cousin in Colorado, he put a couple on a what do you call it, a little SD card.
Mm-hmm. You know,
He had them not mixed or remastered, but he had them cleaned up. And so I've got these conversations of my mom and my aunts, and when I hear the voices, it's like way better than a picture to me.
Yeah.
It's so audio
that's
is so more valuable that it's like my mom is sitting in the room.
Yeah.
So going back to when I did that with Steve in Texas, one of the thoughts I had was how much, like, my new grandson, well, of course, I didn't have a grandson 4 years ago, but, like, my kids, when they get to be 50, I'll be dead. And they could listen to me talking to my best buddy, Rusty, and just to hear Dad's voice again.
Yeah.
So that's really why...
that's why you make a podcast?
No, not now. Now I try to get sponsors and make money.
I was like, you're digging a hole.
No. But it was reminiscent of that. And my first podcasts were just some friends of mine.
Yeah.
I really wanted, like, someday
Make
to,
an
like,
audio record.
because I was never good at writing. I've got a hunting journal, and, like, some years there's everything I did. I don't ever put temperature and choke and gauge. I just said, me and Don Bozo went here, got 3 birds. Dog finally did good. This dog sucked. But it's all spotty throughout the years. I've never been consistent with it. So a little bit of this is like an audio diary for me.
Yeah.
I heard a piece one time about a guy who he was agoraphobic. What's that?
You okay on time?
I don't know what time.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I heard a piece about a guy one time who was agoraphobic, and he had some kind of recording device. I can't remember what city he lived in, but a major American city. And for whatever reason, he would go down over the course of his entire life. He would go down to his door, where his apartment led out onto a city street, and make an audio recording of what was going on, the ambient noise in the morning in a major American city, and logged all of these audio recordings over decades. It was very interesting to historians to be able to track
The bird noises and different
like sort of the audio imprint of the evolving audio imprint of this particular landscape.
From, like, when a trolley car might have been going by and then
Changing
the tracks were-
technologies.
now it's a diesel bus going by.
Yeah, it was a really cool story. It's like whatever would have motivated this guy, and he was, like I said, he had some kind of mental issue. I can't remember what it was, but like wouldn't leave his own home.
Yeah.
But just like an interesting impulse to like capture this.
Pretty
every
deep
day.
thinking, really.
Or just nuts.
Oh, well, there's that.
You're giving them too much credit.
So
the
deep
unique-
thinking or nuts or whatever. But what an interesting
Yeah.
idea, right?
So from our perspective, Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, the outside, like, well, you guys are just a stuffy conservation organization.
Right.
Right? It's like you're this...
So is there a goal with the podcast?
Sure.
To-
It's to put personality and fun into conservation.
Okay.
Right? Because, from the outside looking in, it's just, we're talking about things, initiatives and programs, and that can get boring.
Yeah.
So how do you blend, what I look
Pheasants
at...
Forever fun?
Right, because
Yeah.
I come from the baseball world where the slogan for the team is "fun is good," right?
Yeah.
What we do, hunting, fishing, the outdoors, like that's more fun than baseball,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're playing in the margins of people's lives that they care the most deeply about, right? So how do you bring that fun into habitat protection
Yeah.
that's going to perpetuate that ability to go run a field with your bird dog,
Yeah.
point a covey of quail, bag it, and look at that, and I'm gonna make,
I'm gonna take a picture, put it on Facebook.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna have this awesome meal that a month from now I can remember this. How much wind, what my dog did.
You remember the day.
I with every bird I can remember the sequence. Back to the meal. Like I package them. Quail from Texas. Right?
You don't just put quail.
I put the state that it's coming. Legally, I kind of have to do that too because you start right. Yeah. But when you start making that meal, you connect it to the entire sequence of that hunt, what the dog did. Yeah. Like I relive the memory through that, and that's why our organization's asked Steve to come back multiple times because he does such a great job of connecting the hunt to the meal, to the habitat, to perpetuating what we really care about. So trying to get that through a podcast, telling that story where it's not just, hey, let's talk about CRP and what it means. It's like, it's more than CRP. It's the moments that I got to walk the field with my best buddies from the UP in Iowa, learn how to pheasant hunt. The bond that my wife and I have never been able to have kids, right? So our dogs become anthropomorphized, right? They're our children.
Oh boy,
right?
all that extra.
I love it, right?
Yeah.
And I name my
We need
dogs.
another podcast for that one.
I name my dogs after places in Michigan or connections in Michigan. My oldest dog is named Trammell after
Detroit?
Alan Trammell. I have Escanaba, Esky. My new pup is going to be Gitchigumi. So it connects.
That's not a good call name, Bob, in the field.
Gitchy.
No,
It's
still
perfect.
too many syllables.
Well,
It's got to be Gitchy, Bop, Choo, Gitchy, Gitchy.
but for me, right, it does. It transcends that. Just that dog, right? It's an entire story of what we do.
Yeah. So you're just trying to like put a not a new light, but
we're trying to put a fun spin to what could be a boring world filled with acronyms.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I get lost in acronyms a lot.
Right? Yeah. I remember the 6th day I started working at Pheasants Forever. It was right in front of Pheasant Fest, and the government affair guy comes to me and says, we got to write a press release about an MOU with the USDA NRCS about CRP.
I followed that.
Yeah, I know you did, but I was 6 days
I'm
in.
in high school again.
Right? 6 days in coming from baseball, like, how many RBIs did the guy get? Like, we live in that world, and it's so easy for people's eyes to glaze over. So let's talk about food. Let's talk about dogs. Let's talk about it, that. You see us talking a ton about bees and butterflies and the connection to web of life.
I've hunted for so many years, and I always sort of like, well, the pheasant's got to have insects. The pheasant's got to have something to eat, and I'm like, I was totally oblivious to the pollinators.
Yeah.
Like, it was never on my radar. If somebody said, what's a pollinator? I think it's a bee. I think.
Yeah.
But it's like, when I realized that I really thought CRP was just brown grass.
Right.
When I got to South Dakota, it was brown grass that I might be able to find a bird in. I literally did not, and being honest, I didn't know it had any damn thing to do with soil, water, bugs, nothing.
You
I
saw
noticed you guys have been articulating that more clearly about work around monarchs and pollinators. Because that's like stuff of major concern to people, and I think that's one of the problems that people in the wildlife world fail to do. Because you put a lot of focus on these marquee species that have so much that enjoy so much public awareness,
right.
and things that have a pretty significant economic impact for rural communities and for the outdoor industry, and I think people within the world understand how everything benefits from that, right? Like, if you in a lot of areas, you want to help elk. If you want to help elk, that requires preserving riparian habitat.
Right.
And so people talk about, well, we're helping elk without really articulating all of the trickle down benefits. So I did notice that Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever are better about making that be known to people.
Words matter, right?
And help like connecting with that, because there's a real problem with declining insect numbers. You got people who are might think it's good to be running out of bugs, but I can assure you it's not. It's
not at all.
Everything eats bugs, and everything's got to eat.
Yep. Well, listen, you got to get ready to come downstairs. What do you got to do? Go sign some books?
Go sign some books, and then
Take some pictures?
do some other stuff. I need to go look at a mural of a pheasant.
Oh,
Some dude's making a big ass mural.
yeah. We've got an artist painting a pheasant.
I think I'm gonna paint a little bit of it.
Are you? Okay.
Well, my buddy Morgan was telling me he's gonna take me over there, and then giving a talk tonight.
And what's the subject of that talk, Stephen?
The passage of time, Ron.
I like that subject. The passage of time. I could, do you need any help with that tonight?
No, I got it dialed. Mostly dialed.
You know, Roof said he was going to, be the fluffer for you.
I know that your friend wanted to get up and say a few words. He'll have to talk to the event organizers.
We
But I
do.
think he did.
He says he talked to whoever gave him his necklace, and they said that was cool.
We have kind of a reunion for you. We got Doug Duran in the house, Patrick Durkin. We got
Yeah, Doug was over at the booth for half an hour today.
And my friend Matt Cook's here. I was telling him to hopefully he can get at our table too. So.
Bob, grab a picture of Stephen and I. I'm going to put this up here so it actually looks like we were doing something with my high tech.
With our Zoom.
Does that?
Man, there's a lot of people that use those. People even record on YouTube, or not YouTube. I'm saying
Music?
Skype.
Yeah. Can you see the thing?
Yeah, it's a little bright with that
Screen?
the shade in the background.
That's all right.
That help at all? Good.
There we go. Am I shorter than Steve right now? Because he's taller, and I don't want to be real.
About even.
All right, good. I'm a little conscious about my height as I get older. All right. Thanks.
Well, you lacking height, you make up for
Do you
in
want
girth, though.
to sit down there? And I'll put both pictures up when I
Sure.
put it up there. Get a picture next to Stephen with the microphone, so you're all.
You want the orange jacket out, or I'm gonna
That's your call.
flash it?
That's your call. I'm not going to say anything. Sit down for a second, Steve.
What are we doing?
Just the same picture, and I'll when I put it out there.
You want this?
Yeah, just somewhere where it looks like it's on a couch next to you.
It's like we're trying to
Like you're trying to.
communicate with some kind of spectral.
Yeah, there we go. Little interview. Boom. Boom. You want on yours too, bud?
Sure. Thank you.
Boom. I don't hear the click on yours.
Just hit the white button.
It doesn't need to make a click. That's just a function that people turn on.
All right, let me see if I got. Make sure. Yeah, it looks like I got something there. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Stephen.
Yeah, man.
Very much. Thanks for being here. Both of you.
Aloha, Uncle Ron. How's Gloria doing? Is she taking calls? I don't know, Todd.
Who told you aloha?
My nephew in Hawaii.
Oh, Todd?
Todd. Yeah, your buddy Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how's he doing?
Not good.
Really?
Lives in a van.